What people don't understand about energy is that energy is the original currency. Energy is the source of all wealth. People say, economists say, well, oil is only a sliver of our economy. It's 2%, 4%, 5%. Big deal if oil prices go up. Oil may only be a sliver of the economy, but you can't try running the rest of the economy without oil. It's impossible.
For every 6 barrels we consume, we find 1.
Yeah.
That's the current situation.
That's the situation last year.
There is no way that the economy of the United States or the world will be able to progress in any kind of positive way with shortages and growing shortages of oil. That there's simply no way. Our recent analysis indicates that the decrease in world GDP will be something like equal to the decrease in world oil shortages on a percentage basis.
Growing shortages and declining GDP, that doesn't sound good.
The big challenge is we have designed everything in the United States around $20 oil, and that oil is gone. We're looking at $100 oil, eventually $150 oil. So we've designed our subdivisions, our transportation systems, our agricultural systems, our industrial economy around cheap oil. That oil is vanishing.
I know that there's some missing oil out here somewhere. I need another 10, 11 million barrels a day. Make that gap. Maybe the Saudis have it. Holy mackerel, look at this. An actual Arabian magic lantern. Whoa. Maybe if I rub it, this missing oil production will magically appear. Alakazam Shazam! Make that oil appear! No. Our policy in the West seems to be built around hoping for some sort of magic lantern. But if this doesn't work, is there anything that can be done in the real world to mitigate the effects of declining oil supplies?
The things that can be done are associated with conservation and the production of substitute oil. And there are a number of techniques for doing substitution. To make a major difference from a conservation standpoint, we need to build and deploy much more fuel-efficient vehicles. We're having a very hard time in this country deciding to do that, and it means that people would have to buy more expensive vehicles that maybe plug in and use electricity and so forth. But even doing that on a crash program basis, it takes decades to make a major difference, simply because the lifetime of existing vehicles is so long.
The Bedouin tribesmen were nice enough to put me up for the evening. I've got everything I need right here. Food, shelter, energy. Who needs all that crazy modern globalized SUV driving, hammock schlemmer, catalog shopping, Estee Lauder, powder puffing nonsense? Who needs all that? We've got it all right here. Matter of fact, we may all end up right back here, living this life, sustainable life.
You know, we don't need any more strip malls. We don't need any more national chain retail boxes. We have so much more of that than we need, that, you know, that it's not funny.
What do you say to those who believe that technology will save the day and that new technology will come in and increase production somehow?
Well, there's just no empirical evidence for this. This is one of the theses which was put forward in the recent report by the NPC, the National Petroleum Council of the US. But there have been a few reports afterwards showing the percentage of these kind of technology, what they contribute, for instance, to US oil production, where you have certain fields where these technologies can be applied. And what you see there is that over the decades, the contribution of these technologies has not increased, as you would expect, but it has decreased.
There will be no quick fixes in a situation like this because the volumes of liquids that we're talking about are enormous, and small percentage declines, in fact, represent huge challenges in terms of either conserving, which is one of the things that will be necessary, or producing alternative liquid fuels.
So there's an old expression, you can't get blood from a turnip.
Well, you see, you have declining production in the North Sea, you have declining production in the US.
So it doesn't matter what the technology is, there's simply no oil there.
Why don't you use it there? Yeah, if it would be possible to reverse this trend, why don't they use it? Yeah, it's not possible.
That's right. It's just not possible. So why all the certainty from government and international bodies? If their own studies show that it will take decades of concerted effort to plan, why are they doing nothing?
You have to do something, yeah, because the supply is just diminishing. Yeah, it's not whether you want it or not. Yeah, and therefore it's much easier in such a situation to get people to accept that even uncomfortable things have to be done. Yeah.
Is there the potential for some social unrest?
In a way, regarding international relations, we see this already, because everywhere where there is oil, apart from a few regions, these are crisis regions, and they are not crisis regions because these people are malevolent or everything, but they are crisis regions because other people want to get out their oil.
You know, we're looking for evidence of peak oil out here in the Persian Gulf. Here's a couple of pieces of the puzzle falling into place. Above me, you see some military aircraft getting ready for a big showdown, looking for that oil, of course, out here in the Persian Gulf.
Well, peak oil has generated a comprehensive failure of leadership across the board in America. It's not just politics. It's not just George Bush. It's the leaders, the editors of the great newspapers, the leaders in business of the great corporations. We just have a fantastic, comprehensive failure to think clearly about the problems that the future is sending to us. And, you know, there was a very famous utterance that was made a few years ago. Some people think it was Dick Cheney who said it, that the American way of life is non-negotiable. But you know what happens to people who don't negotiate their way of life? They get appointed a negotiating partner named reality. And then it negotiates for you. And that's what's going to happen to us.
While Americans refuse to alter their lifestyles, geopolitical reality is taking shape. Both the Arctic and the Antarctic have been effectively annexed this year, the hope being that there are oil and gas resources there, enough to save the consumer from negotiating with reality for just one more day.
This is a matter of people. This is a matter of us. And I think there's no way to think about the problem that gives you an optimistic picture of what will happen. It all looks pretty bad, and people don't like to think about terrible things until they hit.
You have a message that's starkly real, that there's running out of oil in a world that runs on oil. This is a very stark message. Now, I'm just saying, have you run into situations where the response has been to rationalize the case for ignoring this issue must get to extreme levels?
Because if you ask people whether oil, gas, and all the other stuff, whether fossil resources, whether they are finite or not, everybody says, of course they're finite. Yeah? But at the same time, they believe this finiteness has nothing to do with their lives. And this is the error which is coming to the surface right now. It has to do with all our lives, not in a far distant future, when the last drop or whatever has been consumed, but now, when we are at this turning point from every year a little bit more to every year a little bit less.
This is the kind of thing that can hit overnight effectively and cause the United States and the world economies to go into recession, which deepens each year. we're talking about maybe the worst kind of pollution, and that is people out of work and losing their houses and being basically destitute.
Well, I guess I'm not going to find any answers here. It looks like the world is going to be using up more oil than it can possibly find, and this idea of peak oil is true. The world has hit peak oil. Of course, the natural thing to do in such a situation would be to conserve. Conservation is the way to go. Don't drive any SUVs. I mean, you're in the middle of the desert. What do you need an SUV for? Just drive a camel. That's the natural way to go. Keep that in mind, okay? We'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.